Chat, where's the chat?
Hi, everybody. We'll give it a few minutes to let people come in, but while you're waiting, if you could put the name of your group, that'd be really helpful. So, like, I've got Dave Lordship Rec, because you only see about 2 or 3 words on the screen. So if you can just put, your first name and the name of your park or green space, then if you say something, then people will know, where you're from, kind of thing. Good to see lots of people coming in. How many have we got? 39 already. It could be a world record.
Most.
We weren't sure when we thought about this subject whether it would attract lots of people, but obviously it has. If you're not sure how to put the name of your space, you just put your arrow, your cursor over your picture, and you should get 3 white dots on a blue square comes up. You click on those, and one of the options is rename. So So Laura's going to do all the techie stuff and let people in. And I'm going to facilitate the meeting. My name is Dave Morris, and I'm from Lordship Rec in Haringey, and I'm also chair of the London Friends of Green Spaces Network. So I think we'll just sort of gradually kick off now. I just wanted to get okay, that's fine. So yeah, welcome to today's special seminar. And the London Friends of Green Spaces Network is the network for nearly 1,000 local friends groups across London. And we have a whole range of different meetings. We have general meetings to catch up on all kinds of issues, as well as maybe having a theme to discuss collectively. We have coordination meetings to deal with more kind of strategic decisions and keep us coordinating well as a network. And we have these seminar, workshop, showcase meetings where 2 or 3 groups talk about something which they've experienced, and then everybody else can kind of pitch in or ask questions or whatever. So we're not expecting it to go on for more than an hour and a half. And we've got 45 participants, which is absolutely fantastic. So we won't do introductions, but if you do speak, say which group you're part of. That's the main thing. And you can do that on your screen by renaming yourself, which is putting your cursor over your photograph, clicking on the 3 dots, and renaming yourself with the name of your group. That's really good. Okay, we're going to kick off, and we've got 3 Oh yeah, you can use the chat to communicate with each other. Feel free to do that, and Laura is going to monitor the chat in case you know, someone's tried to speak and we didn't notice them. Obviously, after we've had the presentations, people can put their hands up or wave them around madly, and hopefully we'll notice. And Laura, if you can't get heard, make a note, and Laura will make sure I know. Okay, so today's theme is to talk about, actually what we hardly ever talk about is the internal challenges of setting up, running and managing a friends group, or whatever it's called, a user group for a green space, and some of the issues and the challenges and how we've overcome them. So it's particularly useful for anybody that's just setting up a new group, or, you know, finding they've got challenges or problems. And obviously, once we've had the presentations, which hopefully will be about 25 minutes, people can then ask questions, and we can go a bit more depth into people's issues and concerns or questions. So, okay, without any further ado, believe it or not, I'm going to kick off and do what I very rarely do, actually, which is talk about my own group, Friends of Lord Shipwreck. So we started in 2001, and one of the things that we did very early on is we made sure that we built up our membership and signed people up, which we do by talking to people. And now that we manage this building in the middle of our park, as you can see, we've got the Friends banner on the windows behind me. We have a sign-in sheet for anybody that wants to get updates and be a member of the Friends. So that's been a big thing for us, is developing our membership and trying to make it as broad as possible. And the other thing that we found is that although we've had monthly meetings for 23 years, we weren't getting a wide range of people in terms of age and ethnicity coming to our meetings as much as we would like. But what we discovered is that lots of people wanted to set up different kinds of groups or be part of something in the park. And we had from the very beginning, we had a big focus on encouraging people to set up walking groups, sports groups, gardening groups, and even under the umbrella of the Friends, we had working groups to do volunteering and help manage different parts of the park. And we find that now we've got about 20 different groups in the park, and we all work together through a stakeholder body, which the Friends chair. So that's a way that we found an effective way of engaging a wide range of people with different interests and different contributions that they want to make. And the council attends those meetings of the users forum. And that is really the decision-making body for our park. And now we co-manage the park with Haringey Council. And basically the users forum makes all the key decisions, and generally the council says, okay. So it's worked pretty well over the last 20 years. The other thing I wanted to say is that we've been a very DIY, do-it-yourself kind of group. Not every group is. Some groups are more of a lobbying group, or maybe a more activities, events group. And we're all of those things, but we've had a big focus on volunteering sessions and working groups that take responsibility for a different area of the park. So we manage the woodland, we manage the orchard field, the lake area, and so on. And that's a way we've empowered ourselves. We also set up the cooperative that now runs this community centre that in the middle of the park. So we've empowered ourselves to pretty much run most of the park, obviously in partnership with the council's project team and grounds maintenance teams. My last point is for any group, I would strongly recommend, as we always do with this network, is to have a strong borough forum of all the groups, friends groups, community groups that are involved with green spaces in your borough, because that's where people can share good practice, support each other, take up strategic issues relevant to your green space and all the other green spaces probably in your borough, in partnership with the council overall. So I would strongly urge, if you haven't got a forum, you know, we, the London network, will help you to set up one as best we can. Okay, that's me done and dusted. And now it's over to Chris from Ruskin Park in Lambeth, no less.
Hi, thanks, Dave. Yeah, just to, I suppose, introduce Ruskin Park if people don't know it. We're located just next to King's College Hospital, actually. So we serve Camberwell, Herne Hill, and Loughborough Junction. So quite different communities. I suppose what I would say is it's a really broad topic around administration and management. So I can sort of try to add the perspective of us as a kind of very established group. There's actually been a Friends of Ruskin Park since 1996, I think. So I came in when it was 20 years old, so I can't talk about setting up a group. And there's lots of amazing work that was undertaken by people in the past when I wasn't involved. So I sort of don't want to sort of take credit for what's happened in the past. I've got some slides. Can I share my screen? Let me just see if this works. I'm not going to. Can we see that? I can't actually get the slides to come up here, unfortunately.
See the slides.
Can people nod if they can see? Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, so just to say a bit more, so yeah, we're a charity, so that's one of the main things I'll talk about is whether that's a good idea or not, because that might be something that people are thinking about. And we exist to protect and promote the enjoyment of Ruskin Park for the benefit now and in the future of all park users. It seems fairly obvious. We've got some similarities with what Dave was talking about in terms of Lordship Rec, but I think we've also got some differences as well, which I might touch on. But sort of at the core of it, we do a lot of community events, we do volunteering, we're also quite hands-on as well as having that partnership with the local authority. We do quite a lot of gardening around the park these days. We have a community garden, but also we get involved in flower beds and tree planting as well. And we do a fair amount of fundraising. And there's some photos of some activities, and you can go to our website if you want to find out more. I've got a few slides. What I'll do is I'll put the link to these slides in the chat when I'm done, so you can sort of follow links. I won't go through everything that's in them. But there were sort of three things I thought I would touch on. I'm just going to highlight from these slides. So as I said, the first one is that we are a charity, but actually I've spoken to sort of new friends groups in the past who are thinking, you know, should we register as a charity? And I would just make the point that it took us 20 years before we became a charity. So it's not something that I would necessarily say is the first act of setting up a group. We're something called a charitable incorporated organization where you register with the Charities Commission, and you sort of have the powers of both a sort of company and a charity. And I think the key thing, and you can read there's some links here, is to consider if it's worth doing it for your group. So for us, there are some benefits because we have some regular donations, because we've got sort of long-standing members, people that give money. We have been able to apply for certain, sorry, I should say getting the donations, of benefit of that is being able to get gift aid. There's also some funding we've been able to access that was only for charities, but most funding, actually most grants, you can apply for as an unincorporated group. And there's various sort of discounts and things that we've come across. There's an amazing little web hosting company, Koala, who I'm probably going to overwhelm now, who offer free web hosting to charities. You can get loads of things like sort of email from Google and sort of various software discounts if you want that kind of thing. So that's quite useful from an admin point of view. But what I would say is that being a charity is quite a lot of work. Your committee become trustees. You need to keep everything up to date with the charity commission. You have to produce proper charity accounts. So I think you have to be operating at a certain scale and have a certain kind of core team of volunteers before the sort of benefits outweigh the kind of costs in terms of your time to think about that. So that's probably all I'll say. There's loads of stuff online about different legal statuses. I think there's some good links on, I think it's on the Parks Community UK website about model constitution. So there's all sorts of stuff out there about that. The second thing I was going to
Chris,
say,
Chris, I'm only seeing your first slide, I think. I don't know if that's.
oh,
I'm just seeing the one that.
yeah, it says, just a sec. I've got this thing saying resume share.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's annoying. When I'm clicking it, it's not doing anything.
If you like, you can email it to me and then I can
I'll just put,
mine.
okay, I'm going to put the link in
Okay.
the chat. So if people want to open it, but I'll try to talk without needing the slides. I don't
Chris,
know
your,
why
your
that's
explanation has been very, very good. So I think, although we didn't see the slides, I think you explained it perfectly clearly.
great. Well, the information is there on the slides, and there's a few other bits I won't probably even mention. So the first thing was about being a charity. The second thing, I guess, is about the team. We've got a committee of about 15. So we have 7 people who are trustees of the charity, and then we have other people who have sort of different responsibilities who kind of join in. So we didn't want it to be a barrier that you had to be a trustee of the charity. And generally we have people taking their sort of specific remits. So we've got co-chairs, we have a treasurer, etc. But we have people that lead on governance, fundraising, that's me, communications, events. So we try to split everything up. What I would say is that even with a sort of large base of volunteers, it's a kind of constant case of refreshing the volunteer base. So we're sort of constantly putting in our email newsletters on our website. We're looking for this particular skill. So you kind of always have to be recruiting the next couple of people who will join the committee because people will leave as well. So that's the thing that we find challenging sometimes. And the other thing I'd say about volunteering is most people don't actually want to join a committee. There has to be other ways for people to get involved. So, if it's coming along to a litter picking session, gardening, a workshop, or helping out, say, just designing one poster, for example, just having ways that people can get involved without feeling like it's a lifetime commitment. I think is really important to keeping a group kind of, I suppose, sort of fresh. Like Dave said about diversity as well, because not everyone has the kind of timetable that allows them to be kind of going to committee meetings regularly. So having different options is really important. I'll just quickly say membership, because this has come up. A few people have asked about this. We actually stopped, some friends groups charge for membership, and we used to. But we actually stopped charging for membership around the same time we became a charity, which was in 2016. And the reason was that we seemed to be spending a lot of time just administering the payment of membership fees. And we had I think about 100 members because we were sort of more because they were lapsing because people hadn't paid. And actually, when we made it free, but then prompted people to make a donation, we've now actually grown to having 400 members. But also some people gave more than the original membership fee as a donation and set up a standing order, which meant that some people didn't need to pay. We didn't want to have a financial barrier to people being involved. So that's just a route we've gone down. The only thing I'd say about that is you have to then have a way of renewing people's membership, even if they're not paying, because otherwise you've just got a list of everyone that's ever lived next to the park and moved away. So we do sort of send out an email to sort of get people to reconfirm they want to be a member every 3 years. I think we do that. So that's one of the things we've had to do. And then the final thing I would say is about fundraising, which is sort of my area and background. I find, well, because I've worked managing grants, so I know how to write a grant application. I would say it's actually sometimes the challenging thing is not getting the grant. And there's lots of bodies you can apply to. I've mentioned in the slides, if you can see them, National Lottery Community Fund, the Postcode Lottery, which has got funding from City Bridge Foundation. So there's people that I think will fund friends groups. But the thing is, once you've committed to doing a project or some work with a grant, you need to deliver it. So you need someone that will kind of commit to sort of managing a piece of work, making it happen over a defined period of time, and then telling the funder at the end of it, if you've done the work, and that you've spent the money. So what I would say is probably not to get carried away about applying for large amounts of money. What I've tried to do more recently, and City Bridge actually are really good. They've just given us a relatively small amount of funding per annum, but for 5 years. And that means we can do our gardening groups, and we pay some people to facilitate different gardening sessions. It means we can do that with a sort of longer time frame. But actually it's not a huge amount of money each year, so we don't have really onerous reporting requirements on it. And it feels more sustainable. And I guess that would be one of my key messages really, is to sort of do something that feels proportionate to the number of volunteers you've got and the ambitions you've got. I think you can kind of try to grow and think you should do absolutely everything, but actually trying to do something that can carry on over a long period is more important. And yeah, in my slides, I've just added in a couple of things about insurance and banking. And if anyone's got any questions, I've done quite a lot of the admin for our organization, probably for about 7 or 8 years. So I'm very happy to chip in the Q&A and try to answer questions if I can. But yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. And it did strike me also, if you're applying for grants, you've got to be prepared to be disappointed many times because they're all hugely oversubscribed. So yeah, that's just another kind of tip, really. Okay, so we're now going to move on to Margaret and Bryony from the Friends of Collier's Woods. They're a double act. Are you there? I can't see you actually on my screen. Oh, yes, you are. So you're a reasonably new group. So give us a different perspective.
Yeah. That's Laura for the slides. Oh, hello. I think Laura's going to put the slides up for us.
Oh yes, that's right. Okay, hang on a second.
Collier's Wood is in the London Borough of Merton, and we started in it was during the pandemic, really, the beginning of the pandemic, when there was an opportunity, I think, for some money. I think this is how it went, and that came to the Collier's Wood Residents Association, and I think we coalesced around thinking about what we could bid for, and then putting a bid in for some improvements to the recreation ground. But once we'd all, there was a little core group of us meeting and thinking about things, we moved on to embrace all the parks and green spaces in Collier's Wood, which Margaret will tell you about.
Administering.
So what you're looking at is our logo. At the beginning, it was COVID, it was lockdown. We have more people with more time to spare to help with things like developing a logo, which we use all the time, including on the next slide, you'll see our high-vis jackets, which we wear when we go out on any activities we are doing. This one is quite a while ago when this activity or this list of activities was being advertised. So we have on the bottom there, you can see we have a web page. It's a part of the Residents Association, Collier's Wood Residents Association, which is well established over 20 years. And we're a subgroup of the Residents Association. So admin is very much out of our hands due to that happy event or happy situation. So the other slides are just showing who we are, what we do. If you continue, Laura, we'll just go through them quickly.
I don't think there's anything you can do.
Sorry, my computer froze. What's going on here?
Okay.
Oh dear. Yeah, I'm really sorry. It's just going to take a second. There we go. Okay, fine. What are you seeing? Is this still the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Good.
This is our launch event. So this was back in September 2020. We had an event just to attract followers, a participation in the group, and yeah, letting everyone know it was quite successful. We had a little bit of funding then from the Wonder Valley Forum to help with any costs involved with that. So if you continue, can you go to the next one? Okay, so we have a WhatsApp group, and this is our main way of attracting. We won't say members, we will say followers. We haven't really got a membership as such. We have followers, so people can quite easily join. But we always refer them back to this bio for the WhatsApp group, because we have had issues around people joining and starting conversations that had nothing at all to do with what we were about. So it's very useful to have that to refer people back to, and to close down conversations just in case they became personal, or people voicing comments that weren't really relevant to the group. So if we continue, this, you're probably all familiar with QR codes. That's how you join our group, but it is controlled. Membership is controlled by admin. So the request to join would come through to one of the admin, and we will try to ascertain why people want to join, who they are, where they live, what they want, what their purpose of joining is, what their interest is, because we have been scammed or
no, we've had inappropriate people joining
on several occasions, which has been disturbing,
yeah,
to say the least. And then just communicating where we are, where we've been working, what sites we have. This is a local map, and everything there you see we have done or had a project to mostly gardening, but also some litter picking, which is very popular, and river cleaning. Yeah, that's so that people know who and where we are. Yeah, so this is our calendar of events, which we found really useful. We have gardening days, litter picking days, river work days, which are ad hoc. So last year, this year, we try to stick to a schedule. If we can't, we let people know via WhatsApp or Instagram, Twitter as well. We've had people in the group who were in the group were very good at designing posters like these. And as I think Chris was saying earlier, we take on board that it's really good to advertise for skills, people with skills who can design posters and other things as well. But it's very useful to have people on board who are prepared and are skilled in that area. For us, it would take a lot of time. For me personally, to put that together, it would take hours and hours and hours. So really good if people have those skills. This is just a photo of some a work day we had. Another way of communicating what we do, who we are, is just to have an A-frame with our logo on, telling what to do. We like to think we're very sustainable. create as little waste as possible, and that is one of the ways of doing that, reusing and recycling everything.
You're supposed to say next slide, please.
Next slide, please.
I
Sorry,
know,
Laura.
I'm trying. Okay, there we go. Good.
These are the kind of events. So litter picking in the snow, very popular, and that attracted people to us and grew our following, as well as working in the river. So the River Wandle passes through Colliers Wood.
Can I just ask if people mute themselves if they're not speaking? Thanks. Carry on, sorry.
So when photos like these go on our social media pages, then we notice a surge in interest and a surge in membership. And these are the kind of things people like to do. You know, they're very demanding almost physically, but even so, you can see straight away, unlike with gardening, you can see the impact of what you're doing. So when people come to volunteer, they can see right away the difference they're making. I think there might be one more slide or maybe two. Again, on the left here, we have one of our really keen volunteers and core group members, great gardener and river cleaner, everything really. And on the right is an action day of getting floating pennywort out of the river in Colliers Wood, Wandle Park in Colliers Wood. And that attracts a lot of interest, a lot of positive feedback. And yeah, it's very visual. So any, I think that's all. That's really just to let you know who we are, what we do. I don't know. Do we need? We'll take questions after that with regard to any administrative things.
Well, that is so inspiring hearing about you know what other people are doing and how they're doing it, and yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of people beavering away behind the scenes to make all that happen. It, as we all know, it doesn't just come out of thin air. So I just want to say a couple of things before we just open the floor to questions. Do put a yellow hand up, which is, I think you go to reactions and then you put raise hand like that, and you lower it after you've answered the question. Or just wave your hands around or put something in the chat. Just want to say a couple of things. I think publicity is really important. Because people often put a lot of effort into organising an event, an activity. And of course, the most important thing is lots of people turn up. But also, you need to so publicity is important. In my group, we use our email list. We've got 1,400 members. They're our official members, and they're all emails that we've been given. So that's the way you join my group. You just give us your email. But we also have a very lively Facebook page with about 1,800 people. And those are our main things. Our WhatsApp group is just for the people that coordinate the group. So it's only 8 or 9 people on our WhatsApp group. But I can see on the last speakers, your WhatsApp group is a really key communication tool. Okay, so open to questions or contributions. First person, I think someone from Twickenham Riverside, and then Mary from Hatcham Gardens.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. We are a riverside-based charity, so you know we have interaction with water. And when I saw your peeps kind of wading in channels and so forth, my immediate thought was insurance and risk assessment. Have you had what was it like having your volunteers work in water? Was that something you had to
Yes, so way back in the beginning we had some input from the Southeast Rivers Trust, I have been out with them several times, and we met, and it was over Zoom, and went through the risks involved in all of that. And they actually shared their risk assessment file with us. So I use that as a template, really. And each time we're planning an event, I will go through that and you know, recap for myself what needs to be done and what needs to be planned for. And at the beginning of each session, then, before anyone gets in the water, we have a chat. We talk about what's planned, what we need to do, what the risks are, and yeah, just make sure everyone, people work together. You don't go off on a tangent on your own. You stay, you have a buddy all the time. And, you know, about reporting afterwards as well. And then also a first aid kit. We always have a first aid kit in the equipment we take.
I mean, did you ask your volunteers to sign a waiver of any sort, or?
No, we don't.
But do you have insurance under the residence?
We have insurance, sorry. Yes,
yeah.
Yes, we have, under the Residents Association, we have insurance that covers work.
So in my group, we also work in a river channel in my park, and our insurance doesn't actually cover it of our group, but we work in partnership with Thames 21, which is a community charity that works with community groups in rivers. So that's another way. If you don't have the insurance that covers that kind of work, you can partner with someone that does. So, okay.
Thank you for that.
Yes, and if you take your hand down once you've spoken, that'd be great. Mary is the next, and anyone else wants to speak, do put up a little yellow hand if you can. If you can work out how to do it. It's under reactions underneath the screen. Hopefully.
We've got some in the chat as well once we
go
through all the hands up.
All right then, so Mary first then.
Hi there. First of all, just thanks so much. This has been so interesting for me because of where we are in our journey, which is right at the beginning. So Hatcham Gardens is a very small park, so we're working on a very different scale to what some of you guys are working on. It's tiny. It's very small, and it's we've just started up the Friends group. It's come together in a funny situation because the park was kind of, Lewisham Council leased the park to a developer while flats were being built. They had their equipment parked on it. They committed to restoring the park after the flats were built, but this didn't happen. That was back in 2019. So there's been the whole pandemic, and nothing was happening with the park. So a group of us got together and started campaigning via our local councillor to try and get Peabody it is to restore the park. So that's the background. So we started off as like an action planning group for campaigning. Now, you know, we've had some success. Works have started on the park, and the park should be delivered by mid-April, touch wood. And one of my action points was to set up a Friends group and get us recognised by Lewisham Council so that we kind of have a formal, you know, status. So we've done that. So we're at that stage. We've got a few, there's a core group of very few of us, maybe 4 or 5 of us, who are in a WhatsApp group. We have an Instagram page which has maybe 30, 40 follows. I've got the keys to the park notice board, so that was a really big step for me to get those off Lewisham Council. And at the moment, I'm just displaying there the plans that Peabody have for how the park's going to be when it's delivered. But basically, my question for all the speakers and for everyone involved in parks is just, you know, what should our next steps be? I'm thinking that maybe something visible, like just going out litter picking or something could be good to get us seen in the area and to increase membership. It was really interesting hearing from people saying about having different committees with different focuses. So any thoughts for a brand new Friends group, basically?
That's a very broad question. I think just if I can comment and then maybe ask Chris and Margaret and Brian to comment as well. But I think it's a bit of a combination of having vast ambition, but very specific, winnable, quick wins, that things that you can do so that people feel that the group is having an effect, whether it's litter picking or managing the notice boards or having an event, especially in the early days, but also just going into the space and talking to people and signing people up. I always found, you know, a really good way of building up your membership, just talking to people. But Chris and Collier's Wood people, what do you think?
So I think you'll probably, I would go down similar lines, talking about doing something sort of visible like litter picking. Maybe there's like a particular little bit of even in a small park, a smaller bit that you want to focus on with like sort of a gardening project or something visible that people, that's also an activity that people can turn up at, and they don't have to, you know, be coming to do gardening. It could be you do a bit of gardening and then you have a little celebration or something of the fact that you've made over a little bit of the park, something like that, that's kind of fairly broad in terms of interest and easy for people to come along to. And then I think someone actually asked this in the chat about social media channels. I would then try to use that as a bit of a hook to try to get some interest and work out actually what are the ways that people locally would respond to. So I don't actually think Twitter is, or whatever it's called now, is particularly useful for parks groups, because it tends to be lots of, you know, there's local organizations on there, but I don't think we get a lot of actual engagement with park users. I'd say actually Facebook and Instagram seem to be the ones where we get the most traction and people respond to sort of photos being shared and that kind of thing. So maybe use that as a bit of a hook along with the notice boards, which are actually really important. And then maybe just try and use that to kind of drive a bit more involvement, you know, grow the WhatsApp group a bit further. But that would just be my thinking, is just to kind of have something kind of small, but kind of, well, not concrete, but something small and tangible that you can focus on.
Alona, I'll bring you in a minute. But Margaret and Brian, any kind of thoughts on building up a new group?
What we had at the very beginning was a leaflet. So people who met, saw us working, whatever, we would hand out a leaflet or a business card. We had a little business card as well. So in addition to everything you've both said, that's something extra. Yeah. But an event, a launch event, was useful as well.
What we didn't say is that our local councillors have been very supportive all along, so that we, you know, they came on the launch day, and they have been supportive. So I think a good relationship with your local councillors pays dividends.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, I'll drop you an email probably tomorrow. This is Laura from Go Parks. I think you just registered with us today. And, you know, maybe we can exchange some emails or set up a Zoom or something to talk through in more detail.
So Alona, you want to add something?
Yes. I don't know if you know Mary, we have a Lewisham Friends Forum. And I'll see if I can find the email address for the secretary to let you know, but there's more than one group here today. There's Forster Park here today and another group as well. So in addition to all the advice you've had just now about starting a new group, we can perhaps provide support and give you some background of how to work with Lewisham. Is your park managed by or will it be managed by Glendale? Do you know?
Yes, yeah, it will.
So we've developed, many of us, quite a good relationship with Glendale, and there are challenges there, but we can offer advice. I hope Debbie at Forster Park agrees with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been having a local forum of where all the groups can link up and share good practice and support each other, and you know, I think it's really important. And we've just seen there, for a new group, you're part of a family already, a family of groups. So if anybody else want to raise some other issues? I can't see. Laura, has anybody?
Yeah, there's lots in the chat. Shall we start making our way through those?
Go on then. If you can lead on who it is, because I'm not looking at the chat.
Yes. So the first question was actually asked by someone who's had to leave, but she's going to watch the recording. So she will catch up on the answers, but there won't be any follow-up from her. So she says, social media, has anyone had success setting up a Nextdoor account in the name of the group without getting stuck on "you are not a human" or "commercial"? And she's also asked about membership fees, but I think Chris talked about that really well. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have any views on Nextdoor of our speakers, or indeed anyone else?
Yes. Anybody feel they can report positively, John?
Yeah, so I mean, I use Nextdoor and I've advertised our events on it. I actually don't know if we've achieved anyone coming for it or not, because you never know if they're coming from the Facebook, the email, the Twitter, the Instagram. You never know which one. So I've got a suspicion. Yeah, we've had a couple of litter pickers come for it, but I set up a gardening group a few years ago for Tower Hamlets, and that never really took off. So I just sort of stopped that one. But I've never specifically set up a friends group for Nextdoor. I just use their thing to post adverts.
I mean, I think there's a general kind of approach, which is that you should try everything. If you're trying to communicate with people, try everything. Posters in the notice board. I mean, having the key to the notice board at the very beginning of your journey is an absolute brilliant start, because some groups have tried for 15 years to get the key to the notice board, and some councils just don't like it. But I mean, obviously, it's bog standard sensible to let the friends group manage the notice board. Obviously, we have to use it responsibly, but but also word of mouth. Word of mouth is really important. Talking to people, and they'll talk to other people. So okay.
On the social media, I would just say also, I definitely agree with Chris that we've had better luck with Instagram and Facebook than Twitter. Also, our group did try Nextdoor, and I eventually gave up. I just advertised things under my own name, so not under the Friends of Group name. But people would like it or whatever, but nobody ever turned up. Whereas we've had slightly better luck with Facebook, but in our group, definitely we get most of our volunteers through the mailing list. It looks like Bob and then Suzanne.
Okay, so Bob next.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Hi, Dave, Laura. Thanks for the opportunity. I was just having a look at your website, Dave. I see you've used WordPress. Is that something you paid somebody to set up for you? How does that generally work across groups, and getting websites set up and then maintained?
Well, actually, I'm not the best person to ask about
Shall
that.
I try and answer that?
But yeah, I mean, just say that our local website, we had someone who's a website manager volunteer to help set up a website for us. So job done, as long as you can keep in touch and make sure it's what everybody wants.
And how do you go about keeping the content filled and fresh, and then maintaining it? One thing setting a website up, it's then maintaining that content.
It is important to keep it up to date, and we mainly the home page. I think that's the most important thing, which myself and another colleague updates regularly. But Chris, do you want to say something about setting up websites?
Yeah, well, I did build the Friends of Ruskin Park website myself, because I've sort of got some skills in that area, and that's based on WordPress, and we got free hosting from a company who kind of offer that as a kind of donation. I think WordPress, you would usually need someone who's kind of got not, well, techie enough like me, but not necessarily. You don't have to be a web developer to set something up. But there are other systems. A lot of people use things like Squarespace or Wix, which I think are slightly easier systems if you want to do a kind of DIY approach to setting up a website. But it's the kind of thing where it seems really difficult, but then if you actually get that one volunteer who will help set it up, then you're kind of, quids in really. On the sort of updating it thing, I think that's really important. I still think we've probably got sort of too much content on our website, but once you've got it there, it's hard to take it down. So you have to then try and keep it up to date. But with something like WordPress, you can set up multiple users. So although I built the site, I've kind of over time found other volunteers who were happy to post things to it. So it's not sort of down to me to then maintain everything's on there. And we mainly, I'd say the two sort of things we have news stories on there, and what we tend to do is we send out an email newsletter. Similar to Dave said, we've got sort of 1,000+ people on an email list. So most of the traffic to our website is actually our members clicking to read more when we've kind of put something in the email. And then the other things are quite common queries. And if you have WordPress, you see which are the most popular pages. Ours are things like we have a paddling pool in the park, and by far the overwhelming thing is the paddling pool operating today is the main thing people want to find out. And it's not on the council website, but it is on ours. So
yeah,
you have to be led by what people want. But I mean, like everything I said earlier, I just wouldn't overcomplicate it. I'd start with kind of basic news and information. Probably something like Wix is probably an easier system than WordPress.
Does anybody use a standalone website building package as opposed to one of the like WordPress, a subscription online service like Wix, WordPress, Squarespace? They're all online subscription, monthly subscription.
I think that's just the way things are done these days. I used to build websites in sort of other bits of software sort of 20 years ago. And I don't, most of it's done with these kind of cloud-based sort of services now, where you kind of edit as sort of the front end. But I mean, there are other ways of doing it.
Is that ongoing financial overhead? It becomes a utility bill, which you've got to keep on servicing month after month, which is the hard bit.
Got it in here. Go on.
Okay, I mean, I think we could probably talk about IT and social media for hours, but yeah. So sometimes it just depends on who you've got available around at the time and what they're willing to do. So,
Dave, John Waite's got his hand up.
Yeah, but just very quickly, Dave, not to go on. I mean, I've similar to Chris' background of websites and stuff, and the thing to watch out for now is everyone's, having used MailChimp and Blogger, it was a website, an email thing that worked really well, and it was all free. But the thing, my main word of caution is just watch the costs, because MailChimp now costs.
Yeah.
WordPress, a lot of it costs, and it's about watching the costs really. You quickly find these little bills turning up.
Okay.
Didn't anticipate.
Thanks on that. So Suzanne, over to you.
Thanks. Yes, Finchley Way open space. We're tiny. We're just under 2 acres. But I was actually responding about the next door thing, because we did set up we've now been going since the end of 2019, and we did set up we did join next door Finchley, I think it is, or next door West Finchley, as a group. But we found that the conversations were there was a lot of advertising, and the conversations were just all over the place. So although we are still members, and we were signed up and getting the messages and everything, but now we've really stopped using it, although we are still members. But I just also, in light of we use Wix for our website, and MailChimp to send out things to our members, and we are a registered charity despite being tiny, and that's one of the things, the benefits of being a charity, is that we've got our MailChimp membership, I don't think costs anything, and the other thing is that we've just set up a website for the Barnet network, and we're using WordPress, but somebody helped us set it up. But it really, I mean, I have never used a website before, and it's really easy to upload things. If you can just find one person to start you off, they don't really need to be involved after that, because logging in and copying things in and taking things down is really easy.
Okay, great. So Laura, next contribution or question?
I think we've actually covered off the questions that were in the chat. So just open it up to anyone who's got any questions then.
Can I just say something I think is quite important we haven't really discussed is a challenge for any group at any stage is how to be influential, empowered, taken seriously by the council or whoever runs the site. And I think that's a process. It's not sort of an instant thing or a simple one thing solution. But I think that any group, it's an ongoing challenge, not always easy. And some groups end up in dispute with their management, which is not helpful, but sometimes it's inevitable. So I think it's always good if you're a new group to take the approach that you're going to be assertive, but you're going to be diplomatic and supportive of the people that manage the space and try and work with them whilst empowering yourself. So little bits of empowerment, like managing a notice board or a flower bed and organising activities and so on, increases your strength to be taken seriously as here to stay. I suppose, maybe other people could chip in on this, because I think that this is really important at every stage, is your relationship with the people that manage the space or own the space. So does anybody want to chip in on things that they've done that's increased their influence on, positively, but also to prevent negative things that maybe, that could end up otherwise being in dispute with? So Sheep's iPad work. I'm not quite sure what your name is, but
hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, my name is Fiona. I'm co-chair of Friends of South Norwood Lake. I'm not sure how you got your little tags up there. So my question would be, we also were another group that founded during the pandemic. So we have everything that we can think of to advertise, but volunteer numbers really vary. We have a monthly works day, so we advertise that on Facebook. We have a gardening and an orchard group, separate WhatsApp chats. We have an monthly email group, and we have 2 notice boards in the park with our monthly dates advertised. And all our volunteer days, we've got around 12, 14 in the committee. We're always there. And then some days we might get 20 people, some days we might get around 3 people. Obviously that's just what happens, weather dependent and everything. But, we're very visible. We have high vis, but also we do lots of ad hoc work days throughout the month.
Okay. Have you got a particular kind of question or issue, challenge?
Just wondering how we can possibly up our volunteers, more regular volunteers for the monthly works.
Okay, so we've got 2 issues now. We've got how to build up our volunteers, numbers of volunteers, and also how to build, our influence and strength in terms of relations with the council or whoever runs the space. So if you've got a response to one of those 2 things, is that Alan or Bob? Rather than bringing any new issues, let's see if we can kind of get to grips with one of those 2 issues. Alan, you haven't spoken before. Do you want to say something?
Sure, thank you. I was just going to, sorry, I'm Alan from Betts Park, which is just across the railway from Laura's South Norwood Park and in South London. I was just going to say the way that we find the best way to connect with the park management and the council, I've actually found, is by being really nice to the workers that pick up the rubbish and mow the grass, and slowly sweet talking the actual people that are involved with the park, rather than sitting and arguing with the management. We get a lot more done from the rubbish collectors and the general gardeners and the workers than you would ever get done through going through the proper channels.
Okay, that's a good insight. So Bob, have you got something to contribute to either of those 2 themes?
Not directly on that one. My follow-up question was in relation to email and email packages.
Okay, we'll just hold that for a minute.
Of course.
Does anybody else want to come in? I can't see. Laura, are you watching as well? I can't see any yellow.
I was going to say on volunteers with our gardening, and we had a big uptake during COVID, like a lot of people. I think it's also understanding like when your likely volunteers want to volunteer. So we tend to have a lot of people who are kind of people that work 9 to 5s who want to do gardening on a Saturday, whereas I think some groups sort of get more luck in the week with kind of people that maybe are retired or have different work patterns. So understanding that's quite important. One of the things as well is we had a big uptake when we started, when we did get something like a national, I think it was a National Lottery Community Fund grant to do a project. And we actually partnered with an organization that could run proper kind of gardening workshops and actually bring gardening expertise in. So it became more of an activity as well as volunteering. And that, because actually a lot of people sort of see something like gardening and think they need to be a real kind of horticultural expert. So actually combining a bit of kind of learning and workshop style activity could be quite a good investment in getting people's confidence up that they'll come along. And we've kind of built a group and we get sort of, 15, 20 people turn up on a Saturday to do gardening in the park now. And it's kind of a community that's grown up, but it's not like an obvious community of kind of existing gardening experts. Quite a lot of them are people that kind of came to it for the first time through the activity. So just thinking about it in quite a developmental way for the people involved, I think is quite nice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just on something in terms of influence and good building partnerships, I think having walkabouts with the relevant council officers or managers, just hold on 1 second. Yeah, it's really helpful to someone. And it really builds a relationship over, if you have 3 or 4 walkabouts over a couple of years with the same management or officers, project team or whoever, it can really build up a good I think a relationship takes time to build up so that, you trust them and they trust you. It's a mutual, challenge. Councils aren't great, as we all know, at working with communities. And to be honest, communities aren't particularly great working with councils. It's a learning experience. And I've had to learn a lot and appreciate, their issues and their challenges as well. So once they can realize that you're appreciating them, it's much easier for them to relax working with you as well. So, okay, the next person wants to jump
I was just going to jump in on something. Was it
Okay.
Fiona who is Sheep's iPad? I think, I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat at the same time and admitting people, so I didn't quite hear the question, but was it around attracting volunteers? Is that your question? Because
Yeah.
one of the things that we've done that's helped our group a lot is getting our councillors to include our volunteering sessions and events in their newsletters. And also just making sure that they're aware that we do these things, because they get people coming to them saying that they're interested in volunteering, and then sometimes the councillors signpost them to us. And also they advertise our events and meetings in their newsletters, and we've definitely had people come in and join us as a result of those contacts. So I think that's been really worthwhile for us. As well as just, building that relationship with the councillors, because they've also advocated for some of our projects when maybe it was slightly hard to get them done.
Great, thank you.
I mean, councillors, I have to say, can be, there's pros and cons of being very close with councillors, especially sometimes they have their own agendas. Sometimes there's party political issues going on in a particular borough, which you don't want to get drawn into. So I wouldn't say it's always the first thing to build a relationship with councillors, but obviously you don't want them to be hostile to what you're doing. But yeah, okay. Anybody else want to jump in now? I think we've got to the point where people can just, express. I think it's good to focus on challenges and how to overcome them. So does anybody else want to say anything? Laura, you're kind of watching, are you, as well?
Just that Fran and Bob both had their hands up briefly and then took them down. So I don't know if they had anything else they wanted to add or ask about.
Okay. Sam and Bob?
No, Fran and Bob.
Fran and Bob, are they two separate people?
Two separate people.
Okay, so Fran.
Hi, it's Fran from co-chair of Friends of Gypsy Hill. Getting volunteers is difficult, and just to add on Laura's point, what we found having a mixture of ways of getting a volunteer day. So we have similar themes that are being picked up today. We have a regular event which is publicised and on a calendar. So then that's publicised on hard copy at the venue. We've got 2 small community gardens and online. We also have a WhatsApp group we found that some gardeners don't like structured activity days. So we have a WhatsApp group where our lead gardeners will say, I'm going to be here tomorrow afternoon or this afternoon for 1 or 2 hours, and allows more pottering type people who just want to do more, don't really want to be don't want to be structured into you must do that, then that, then that. They just want to be involved in a more day during the week. So the WhatsApp group is for midweek activity, people to drift in, drift out as they wish. And the other one is having very focused action days. People like to have if there's a very strong theme that there may be a whole series of buddleias or something that need a specific action, and that can help when you have a particular focus, or you're planting a hedge. And the other one is just try and have if you can, a social event, teas, coffees, cakes, and lots of post-it notes, and just ask people, what do people want from the area or from the space, and try and get a fresh look at what there may be a small, I think that was mentioned, having a small subgroup, and may just want to develop some raised beds, and just have those, try and keep engaging, at least ideally once a year, to those type of events where you just get post-it notes and ideas and attract interest.
Okay, just in terms of the subgroups, I mean, we've got about 5 different working groups, and they all had their own means of communication. So they've got emails or WhatsApp group just for that working group, if you like. So that's a way of getting more people actively involved who don't necessarily come to the coordination meetings for the whole group.
We have all those things. We have subgroups. We have like 2,000 people in the Facebook group. We've got the calendar going on. Someone does a local what's on the local South Norwood area, but it's just always us, like on our subgroup of gardeners. It'll be myself and another committee member. It's just really hard to get a new gaggle of people, but we're still getting the jobs done, so it's just time, I think.
Yeah, there's no guarantees, is there? You can try everything and it's not successful, and then something new might happen and new people get involved. Like, where did they come from? So you just have to kind of beaver away and stick at it. Okay, so is it Bob who was going to say something? Laura?
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Sorry, Bob. It was you.
Again, just on the subject of communicating with volunteers and the public at large, I'm interested in the mass mailing side and what everybody else does to mass mail people. What do you use? Facebook's one thing to broadcast a message, but emailing, which you and several others have mentioned, how do you do that for 2,000 people?
You set up an email group. There used to be Yahoo groups, but then they started charging. So you just have to find a provider that sets up email groups and add everybody to it. I mean, MailChimp used to do that, and now they charge. So it's not always easy. But I mean, how do people communicate with lots of people? I mean, certainly Facebook is a very easy way. Obviously, people can communicate with each other, and they can respond to posts as well, whether they like it or comment on it or whatever. So we found our Facebook page is quite lively, but I know that a lot of groups, their Facebook page, and it is, you know, it can be quite dead if nobody's responding and adding stuff. It can be quite dull and out of date. So anybody want to kind of respond about communication?
I mean, I'd just say that I think Nextdoor and Facebook and all these, I find they're waning a little bit. I don't really, whereas, you know, social media comes and goes, but email seems to be the way that works for us. You know, it's a sort of a broadcast. We use it in a broadcast sense. It's not ping-ponging like WhatsApp often does, or Facebook, or, you know, so you don't get loads of replies that are irrelevant. You just, and not everyone sees the replies, you know, it just goes to the person who sent it. And I know it's email's old-fashioned, but it's certainly the thing that we would use more than anything else. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm conscious of where we've come to about 10 past, so we're kind of moving towards the end of the meeting.
Margaret and Bryony had their hand up. I think they
okay, Margaret and Bryony, please. Yes.
Just a quick one. Has anyone tried dropping leaflets, particularly in the vicinity of a park or a green space, and particularly to inform people about who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it? And I'm asking because very often we find the contractor, the parks contractor, comes in and does something like really hard cutback of a hedgerow because a resident has said, oh, that's, you know, risky for my property, or it's a nuisance, or it's blocking out light, any of those reasons. So just wondering if anybody has tried that, just leafleting, so that we can, you know, educate people with regards why we exist and why we would like hedgerows to be better managed, for instance.
Yeah, I don't know if they're on here, but I think it's Brookway and Brent did a webinar for us about a year ago, and they said that they had a lot of success getting volunteers and raising awareness in the community by doing leafleting. I guess there's print costs to consider, but it's an interesting way of doing it, and certainly it worked really well for them.
Yeah.
And if you've got a building in your park or adjacent to the park, then leaving, you know, leaflets, regularly changing them over time or whatever, is really, I think, well, certainly we do in our park. We run the building in the middle of the park, and we've got an information table with our leaflets on, and we get 3 or 4 new members, you know, every 2 or 3 days. We've got a sign-up sheet, so it's a very, you know, people think that, you know, bits of paper and pens are old-fashioned, but they still do the job. You know, so Sophie, you haven't spoken before, so do you want to jump in here? We're kind of drawing to a close now, so over to you, Sophie.
Hi, yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just responding to I forget the names of the ladies for the Colliers Wood Parks. I'm also London Borough of Merton Parks Friends Group Secretary, and we found that the only way, or the best way, of getting new volunteers is to leaflet drop. But the like you say, the limitations are the cost of printing, so you have to bat your eyelids at somebody, you know, who's a member, who might be able to get you a cheap print option, but also the logistics of actually getting people to do the deliveries. But if you can garner enough volunteers to do that, that is, as we've discovered, the best way of actually getting people in the area to be aware of it. Because sometimes people know that there's a park, but they don't happen to walk past that notice board. They don't follow you on social media. You know, a lot of our volunteers are actually, you know, of the older generation, and social media is not their natural habitat. But if you put something through the door, they're the ones who might be able to come out and do a few hours litter picking or help out. We're trying to, at the moment, to get a summer party or a summer picnic arranged to try and get more people involved. And I love the idea of the post-it notes when you know, if you have a social event, just to get people the word of mouth. But in order to get people to an event, you need to tell them where it is. And we found that the best way is to literally put it through their letterbox and say to them, hey, we're here. So just our experience, really.
Okay, so
Just to say, Suzanne also mentioned that they had a lot of success getting people to come and form a committee through leafleting. And it looks like Debbie's got her hand up as well on the topic.
Okay, go on then, Debbie.
Hold on, just trying to find.
We can hear you, so just go for it.
Oh, you can hear me, great. Okay, sorry. Not on mail drop actually, but I was asking, occurred to me to want to know how people run their meetings. Do you have like complete open meetings? Do you have your meetings in the park? We had meetings outside, we have meetings in person, but now we have meetings on Zoom, occasionally in the park. But do you have your meetings just for the core committee, or do you have wider meetings? That's my interest.
Well, that's you've just thrown a bomb into the meeting at the very end there, because that's obviously a big issue. All the different ways which people meet up and make decisions and involve new people. But maybe we'll just have a couple of responses. Maybe we'll ask the presenters. So Chris and Margaret and Bryony, do you want to just say about the different kinds of meetings that you find useful? Chris, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, our main kind of monthly sort of formal, well, normally monthly sort of formal meeting is our committee meeting. So we kind of go on the basis that people can kind of come along who aren't on the committee if they want to, and they want to find out more, and they might be interested in getting involved. So we don't have lots of regular sort of all members meetings. But we'll do things kind of more a couple of times a year. We have an AGM which is quite well attended, and we tend to make it half half the kind of formal business of the charity and electing trustees, etc., and half a kind of park user forum. So we kind of get someone senior from the council to come along and do a Q&A kind of after we've done our formal business, and that tends to work quite well. And then we've done kind of things which are more like an outdoor kind of drop-in session. So we have a sort of community garden area. So we've done a sort of thing kind of like meet the friends, come along, and just sort of, we'll have a few snacks out on picnic tables and you can come and chat to us. We find people are more likely to come along sort of as new people and actually talk to you in a more of an informal surrounding. And then we also have stalls at kind of event. We have a big community event in the summer as well. So yeah, we did go on to Zoom during COVID, and we've kind of for our AGM, and we've gone back to face, but it was interesting that we got some different people on Zoom, and I would love to get the tech sorted in the size of room we need to do a hybrid meeting, because face to face and online does reach different people. But you just have to sort of bear in mind, some people are parents, for example, and they're not going to come to a meeting, say, at this time. So it's just sort of moving your meetings around as well is a good idea. I'll shut up now.
Okay, and Margaret and Brian, any thoughts about meetings? And then I think we're going to pull it all to a conclusion.
Okay, well, we are a subgroup of the Residents Association. So we did start off having open meetings that we advertised to everyone. And then we discovered really it was still just us meeting. So we've been really lax and we haven't had any open meetings. We've just got the WhatsApp group that we communicate on. And we've got a small sort of core group of keen people that keep everything running. But I mean, this question has made me think we really ought to be a bit more democratic, I suppose, is the word, because that we need to give it a bit more thought.
Okay, has anybody who's not spoken want to say anything before we kind of draw it all to a close now? I can't see, apart from Debbie, I think you just spoke. You may still have your hand up. I'm conscious that people are beginning to fall off now because
Des has got his hand up.
Des, you've got the last word before we wind up. I can't see Des or hear him.
You on mute,
Can everybody
Des?
hear me okay?
Oh, Des, yeah, great. Go for it, Des.
Okay, right. I'd just like to say thank you very much for this. This has been so useful. So thank you everyone for participating in this. Yeah, my name's Des Blake. We're a newly formed friends group. It's Friend of Plaster and Surrounded Areas. We've added that in because we want to get other people included in participating in the park's different activities. What I was going to say is there's somewhere where all our contacts would be available so we could talk to each other. I don't know if there's something like that going on.
So I should say now about thank you for that, Des, and great that you've started a new group. And you know, friends groups are for life, not just for Christmas. So enjoy it, and get empowered and inspired. So so the London Friends of Green Spaces Network, we have an email list which we send a monthly bulletin to. We have general meetings, we have coordination meetings, and we have showcase meetings like this one. But we also have working groups on biodiversity, climate resilience,
events in parks,
events,
dogs in parks.
commercial events in parks.
Dogs is a group.
Dogs in Park. So put your email, anyone that's not on our email list, you know, put your email in the chat, and Laura will pick up on it at the end of the meeting and make sure you're linked in. If there's one of those working groups that you're particularly interested in, biodiversity, climate resilience, commercial events, or dogs, say so, and you could be added to those working groups, and they have meetings every so often on Zoom. Now, in terms of ongoing, the most of the action, most of the issues, most of the where we can have an effect is in our local boroughs. So we always say, get a borough forum going, and if you've got one, make it as active as you can. So Plaistow, are you in, where are you, Newham?
Yes, that's Newham. Can I just say before, because I know you need to go, I'm interested in diversity and disability subjects. So I don't know if anybody else.
Chuck that in the chat and your email, and Laura will pick up on it.
Des and I have been talking a lot lately, so that's fine. I'll add it to our list, Des. No worries.
Okay, that's brilliant.
I think that's a great topic to be interested in. So yeah.
Okay.
Let's work on that.
But there's also
thanks so much.
It's also the need to sort of get all the groups in Newham to work together and support each other. And that's the same in every borough, really important. So listen, I'm going to thank everybody for coming and for sticking it out to the bitter end.
Can I just say one last thing, Dave, which is that some people may have found out about the meeting through social media and aren't on our mailing lists. So if that's the case and you'd like to find out, you know, get our newsletters, find out about these events more easily, then just pop your email in the chat and I will send you a registration link.
And we have a Facebook page that people can, you know, contribute to, and so on. Right, our next meeting, Laura, remind us, our next meeting, I think, is a general meeting, so all friends groups are welcome to come. We will have a theme, but it will be a collective discussion rather than a showcase where 2 or 3 groups will present themselves at a showcase meeting. But a general meeting will have a theme, but also we'll have reports from other London-wide organisations involved with green spaces and so on. So those meetings are really interesting and important to attend. Laura, have you got the date of our next meeting? Obviously, we'll publicise it.
No.
Oh,
off the top of my head, no. Sorry.
Okay.
It's on the
Well,
LFGN website, and I will send out reminders, you know, sort of from a month ahead of time. So.
And we've got a website, lfgn.org.uk. So we've got information on the site, including the dates of our meetings in this year. So check out the website as well. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. Just want to say one final thing, that we're all part of a very big movement across the UK of 7,000 local groups, which is coordinated. And we're obviously the London sort of section of that movement. So do feel that you're making a real difference, not just to your green space, and thank you for all the work you put into for your green space, but also as part of a much bigger movement that we're trying our best to make influential on the national scale, which means trying to pressurize the government to take the funding and protection of green spaces seriously, which is not actually that easy. So, but we are working at the national level as well as, you know, borough and London wide and so on. So that's it, I think. I think it's goodbye from me and goodbye to everybody.
Thanks indeed.
And see you hopefully at the next event.
Thanks, Dave. We just
Goodbye.
had £31,000 as we were speaking. That's from Brent Council. Just
well done.
For my local park. I still can't believe it. So I'm just wanted to say to everybody, keep going. It's worth battling.
Yeah.
Suzanne, that's amazing. Well done.
I'm falling off my chair. It's a
Okay.
very neglected rec ground.
Okay. All right then. Bye everybody. And Laura, I'll have a chat with you at the end of the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.